Hello, anyone here? No. Three little peepers. Three little peepers online. Hello, I'll be falling. Rosie, yeah, building up now. Hello, everybody. I want to start by saying a massive thank you to everyone who donated to the Black Lives charity links I put up last week. If you're finding these script writing sessions helpful and you want to share love and donate some money, this week I'm asking for people to donate to 14-year-old Grace, who was diagnosed with a rare brain tumour. Grace is in need of specialist drugs that aren't currently available on the NHS, and she really needs our help. So to donate to Grace, the link is in my bio. And we shall start. So this week is an exciting one because I have Matt Baynton, who is the star of Ghosts, The Wrong Mans and Horrible Histories, and he's also my second cousin. So let's just see if he's on. He is. Right. We're just waiting for him now. Is he here? Here he is.
Hey.
Hello.
Hi, mate.
Hello, mate. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Being a parent in lockdown is possibly the worst thing ever. How are you?
I said I'm good because that's my standard response. But genuinely, 1 hour ago, my 4-year-old daughter shit her pants. So I washed that out in the bath, then took her downstairs. When my son asked me what the word is for the bit that holds your balls, which led to a sex education lesson, which I wasn't expecting, with 9. And then Kelly started crying because she realised that she'd promised the kids that they would put icing on the fairy cakes they'd made this afternoon. She was so tired. She remembered it and started crying.
Oh, fucking hell. Oh my God, I feel your pain. It is horrific. Me and my husband have started doing this thing where we know that my daughter shat herself, but neither of us wants to bring her up because we don't want to be the ones to change her nappy. I'm just waiting for my husband to go, oh, what's that smell? Fucking horrific. Anyway, thank you so much for doing this. This is amazing. People have gone mental knowing you're coming on tonight. A lot of fangirls, gotta say. So I'm going to start by asking you what I ask everyone, which is, how did you get into it? How did you get into acting and writing?
Okay, wrap in. I'll try and do the shortest possible version.
Okay.
Which is, and the first bit I think is really important for people to hear, which is that I always loved acting, and so I'd always done, as a kid, I used to go to like a kids' youth drama group on Saturdays and stuff, and loved it. And we did like Oliver, and I was Fagin, and genuinely up there with my best memories of acting, just doing that.
Yeah.
And then I did theatre studies at A level. And I had a conversation, like towards the end of A levels, I had a conversation with my theatre studies teacher where I said, I might apply to drama school. I'm thinking about that. And this sort of sounds worse than it is, because I think he just wanted to kind of give me some voice of realism and just basically said, oh, it's really, really hard.
Bastard.
It's really hard and you probably shouldn't. And I was just like, oh, right, okay. There's so little like steel in me that I wasn't like, I'm going to prove you wrong. I was like, sure, you're right. So So then I think I applied to do theatre studies at university at Royal Holloway, and I didn't get an offer. And the woman who interviewed me basically said, I'm not going to give you an offer because it sounds like you want to be an actor or a director or something like practical in the business. And so you should apply for vocational courses like drama school.
Right.
And I was gutted because I was like, oh, that guy said I shouldn't do that, and you're saying I should. And I guess it's just at an age where you just, or at least I didn't have the wherewithal to just go, well, I know what I want.
Mm.
So I took a year out, and I did a terrible job that I hated. The idea was I would save up money for then like doing something, and I didn't save anything because I just instead.
How old were you at this time?
Well, so that was after A levels. So I took a year out. So I was, however old you are then, 19,
Right.
18, 19. And then I found out that Rose Bruford did a directing course. And the logic in my head was like, well, I've been told I can't be an actor. That's unrealistic. But being a director somehow is.
Right.
So I
Yes.
did that, and that's what I did. And the first year of it was just the acting course because they felt that directors should have a foundation in acting. And I just loved it so much. And it just kind of began to awaken that thing in me that like, no, this is, and there was one particular acting teacher who said to me, I think you should change to the acting course. I think you're really good. And I didn't because I don't know, that would have been like admitting I'd made a mistake.
Right. Oh my God.
So I was like, no, I definitely want to be a director. But thank you for the compliment. It was enough. It was enough. Just her saying, "I think you're good. You could be an actor." Was just. I only needed it from one person,
Yeah.
and that just sowed that seed. And then I also, at the same time, I was like realizing that I'd always loved comedy and that I was drawn to that more than anything else. I'd been through a phase of being like wanting to be a really serious artist. And, uh, and I sort of realized actually all my life I've just loved comedy and I've always just imitated and quoted sitcoms and I'd been seeing like fringe comedy groups that I just loved, and they often had the same director's name on the, same guy who directed these things. And it was in the summer of or before the summer of my second year at drama school, I wrote letters to all of these companies that I loved, just fanboy letters, just saying, I absolutely love your work. And I'm studying directing at drama school, but I've got a whole summer. And if you're doing anything, could I come and watch you rehearse? If it's one morning, one day, one week, whatever.
Oh my God.
And one company wrote straight back and said, yep, we're rehearsing a show. They were called Spy Monkey. And their director was this guy, Cal, who, never having met me, called me, said, I read your letter to Spy Monkey. I'm directing 3 shows this summer. You're my assistant. And I was like, what?
Oh my God.
He just took me under his wing. They were all doing like clown kind of shows, like physical comedy shows. And that was like the beginning of a new education for me. And I just learned just so much from watching them. And then they'd all trained with this man called Philippe Gaulier, who had a school in London and then had moved to Paris and had a school there. And so he said to me, you should go there. So that's what I did when I finished at Bruford.
So you stuck the course out then?
I stuck the course out, yeah, just kind of stubbornly.
And how
And
many years
then
was that?
that was a degree, so it was 3 years.
Oh my God.
And this kind of happened in the middle of it. And then I went to Paris and I did the Philippe Gaulier thing. And then when I was finishing there, I realized that I had the best time, but I realized I'd be coming home to absolutely nothing. Like,
Mm.
no, I had nothing to showcase or like any step into the industry.
Yeah.
And all I could think was I just have to make a show. So I literally picked up the phone to the two funniest people I'd met along the way in sort of workshops and said, do you want to make a show and go to Edinburgh? I reckon it will cost us about this much. And if you're up for it, I think this guy Cal would probably direct us because he's been really nice to me. And that's what we did. And so
God.
we did like 2 years of, just like touring in a van to art centres and playing to.
Tell me what the show was. What was
So
your show?
the first show we did was called The Bubonic Play, and it was like three idiots had decided that they could write their own Shakespearean tragedy about the play. And that, I mean, basically the play that goes wrong have taken that kind of clown idea and kind of branded it perfectly. But that was the vibe, was like, here are people trying to do a serious play and everything that can go wrong goes wrong and they're rubbish. And they hate each other.
Oh God, that sounds brilliant.
It was just three people fighting for the audience's attention, basically. And we would just upstage it. It was just vicious upstaging, basically. But all, we loved
So
each
was
other.
Edinburgh the first time that you'd put this show on?
Yeah, so we did. I mean, we literally did it like above a pub in Camden, and
Right.
then took it to the Fringe. And because it was this guy Cal, like he had directed The Boosh and this company Spy Monkey were really successful, and like we'd done some really big Edinburgh shows that had been really big in Edinburgh and like been nominated for awards. And so when we spoke to the venue, there's a group of venues called the Pleasance, which is one of like the main ones up there.
Mm-hmm.
And we were applying for a venue and we were like, we want just a little basement, 40-seater thing because we're new. And they were like, yeah, but Cal McChrystal's directed it. So this will be huge. His shows are huge. So they went, what we'll do, we'll put you in the Queen Dome, it was called, which was 175-seater, like three-sided, like, which now seems kind of quaint, but at the time it's just like unimaginable. We'll give you the same financial deal as if you were playing to 40. So what you have to do in Edinburgh is you give a guarantee that's like, if you sell 0 tickets, you have to pay the venue as if you sold 10 per show, or something like that, like a guarantee of a minimum kind of thing. And then anything beyond that is money that you make. So they said, we'll give you a really low guarantee, but if your show sells, then you're selling 175 tickets instead of 40. And we were like, well, that is great. Thanks for that deal. And then we played every night to like 8 people in 175. There was like one amazing Saturday where we had 20. So, like,
oh my God!
The first like 5 minutes of the show would be us going, "Can you all sit? I know you don't know each other, but can you all sit together?"
Just acting. Oh my God! Yeah, because I was going to ask you, how do you promote a show like that? Will you go out on the streets with flyers and?
Oh my God! The hell of literally begging people to come to your show, and sort of handing out sometimes you try and give out some free tickets to bump up numbers, but there's a real danger in that, because people, if something's free, people think it's trash, so they
Right.
kind of don't value it, you know.
Fucking hell. I've
It,
never been because I don't think I could actually cope with it. I think I'd have a nervous breakdown.
have you been to watch anything?
No, I've never ever had the chance to go up there. Charlie and I are desperate next year.
It is amazing. I mean, and I still go every year that I can. It's been a while because of kids, but I love when you go into a small room and you see a bunch of people who are completely unheard of, who blow your mind, and you just go, they're a star, and I know I'm going to see that person be huge,
Again.
you know? And it just, the fact that it's people doing their thing, and it's completely, especially the free fringe, it's like, it's, it, in, as you know, like when you get into telly, there's so many conversations
Yeah.
and
So it's
considerations.
raw and it's unfucked with. It's just.
Totally, just exactly what you want to do.
But what's amazing is that there is that opportunity that I think. I mean, hearing that from you, because we haven't had anybody on this yet who started off by going to Edinburgh, but having that kind of opportunity that you can say, no, fuck it, let's take a show, let's do our own show,
Mm.
let's write our own stuff and take it up there is amazing. I'm really
It's
brave.
Yeah, I'm also like I can't. And whenever I talk to anyone who wants advice about getting into industry and things like this, I can only talk to my experience because I just don't know any other way. So the
Yeah.
advice I would have for people is make something. Just like find a way to make something. And if that's YouTube or, TikTok or what, if you're just making stuff, there's an opportunity for people to see you, and you never know what comes next or who happens to see it. But if you don't make anything, then all you can do is hope that the phone rings. And why is it going to ring?
Yeah, no, that's so true.
You
It
know,
is so
people we went
true.
to drama school with, this might be the same for you, people who everyone in our year was like, they're the one,
Yeah.
like, they're the one. And they didn't work. Like, they just came
Yeah.
out of drama school and didn't work and had, that
Why
was
is
it.
that? Why is that? I wonder whether it's what was funny in our year is there was kind of a competitiveness where it's like, and people would be like, oh, she's quite similar to me, and she's going to do well, and I'm not going to do very well, and then you forget that you're up against not just up against people in your year, you're up against
Yeah.
like the entire industry where there's all these people that look like you and that will
Well,
go up for the
true.
same parts.
Although, like on the flip side, I also think that drama school creates a sense of competition that is less real in the real world, because
Yeah.
like at drama school everyone is the same age, or most people are, and like your life experience is pretty similar in that right now you're a bunch of students at drama school. Like out in the real industry, there's such a breadth of age and type and background and the rest of it. But in drama school, you're all a bunch of drama students who are 19, 20, 21. And so I think people sometimes carry that sense of competition and the feeling that like if they if you're doing something, then that's like one less seat. If someone's if
Yeah,
someone's out getting those jobs, that's like one less
for me,
space for
yes,
me on the bus.
that's
And
so true.
I don't think that's real. I think that's a bit of an illusion. I really think like there's room, but I do think that if you're passive, then you just need um, everyone needs some luck, but you need just an insane dose of luck if you're not doing something to get yourself to do something. And also
So,
I think it's sort of Go, sorry.
No, you go on, please. I just stuck on, I'm sorry.
I think if you make stuff, then it already suggests that you're doing it because you love it. And there are plenty of people who do it because they have an idea of like success, which they think is going to make them happy. And I don't know. I think you're in trouble almost even if you do get success, if that's your way in.
Yeah.
Because the goalpost like will just keep moving. You'll get your first job, which you'll have said to yourself, I just want to say to myself, I'm a professional actor, then I'm going to feel happy. You'll do that job and then you'll be like, that was just a supporting role and I need a lead. And then you'll get that lead and you'll be like, I've got to win something. I've got to win an award. And you win the award. You win like the What's on Stage award and you'll go, BAFTA. I need a BAFTA. It will not. I've seen people do it.
Oh my God.
You never, and you'll just look back and go, you'll look back and go, I didn't stop and enjoy it because I was constantly thinking, okay, here I am, but that's where I
yes. I currently feel that way now about a pool. I just want a big house with a fucking pool. But it's funny though, because you're completely right. It doesn't, when you manage to get to that bit, you don't give a fuck. It's always the next thing. But the magic is in the creating and the writing, and when you just forget about everything else and you're completely present in it and just enjoying it. It's just the best.
It is, and it's no different. I don't feel different making like Ghosts to how I did when I made those Fringe shows. And by the way, at the same time as those Fringe shows is when I first met you, because I did Panto.
Yes, that's right. My grandfather took us to Wallingford pantomime to go and see Dick Whittington, I think it was.
Newbury,
sorry.
And it was your dad. Because and it was your dad. You were with your dad.
Yes. Because Dad was watching the show and Dad the whole time was going, I'm sure we're related to that guy on stage. And he ended up getting a programme in the half time, which he never fucking buys, by the way, because he always goes on about how expensive they are.
Businesses.
And then I can't really remember what happened. All I remember is just thinking, oh my God, we walked into this pub where all the cast were like having drinks afterwards. And I was probably about 15. And Dad came up and spoke to you.
Yeah, well, you came backstage first. I remember you came.
Oh, that's so embarrassing. Like fucking Glastonbury.
They came and said, there's a guy at stage door who says he's related to you. And I was like, oh, what's his name? And they went, Paul Cooper. And I was like, I don't know who that is.
That is so fucking typical of Dad. It's like he's getting the reflected glory of you being on fucking stage. What now that I know the full story is how embarrassing that not only did we go backstage, but we came to join you in a pub afterwards for your fucking class drinks. Fuck's sake. Anyway, so I'm going to carry on because I'm desperate to ask you about. So fucking embarrassing. Desperate to ask you about what happened after the Edinburgh show. So how did it progress from there?
So we did a second year in Edinburgh with a second show, and just before we did the run in Edinburgh, we'd done like a preview tour around, like we did Newbury and Basingstoke. There was like a mini tour we did around that way, and we were all kind of supporting ourselves with odd jobs and stuff, and we had this conversation just before the Edinburgh run where we thought that we were all breaking it to the others, but we'd all come to the same conclusion, which was that we couldn't afford to carry on after Edinburgh.
Right.
And so like we did that run with the knowledge that like that would be it at the end of the run. And both times we'd done Edinburgh, we'd written all these letters to agents and producers and all of that stuff, and no one fucking came, you know. And we did like, we just didn't get much press or anything. We were just another show in the maelstrom of thousands of shows. But I came home at the end of that Edinburgh, like thinking, okay, now's my moment where I have to decide what else I'm going to do with my life. And then I had a message, this is how long ago it was, I had a message on my home phone from an agent who had seen the show, who had actually read our letter and gone, yeah, I'll check out that show. I think because she'd seen something else the director had done, and so thought, yeah, this would probably be quite funny. And she said, if you're still looking for representation, I'd love to meet you. So I met her, had this amazing like chat where we liked loads of the same stuff. And the whole thing was just so exciting to me. I looked up who else they had on their books, and there was all these like mega stars like Tilda Swinton and Stephen Fry. I was like, this is fucking incredible. And at the end of the conversation, she went, well, I'm sure that you're meeting a few different agents, and like I saw quite a few. So like I saw quite a few people in Edinburgh, so I'm chatting to quite a few people, and you know, let's see where we are and stay in touch. And I left like, but no, in fact, what happened is worse than that. When she said, "I'm sure you're meeting some other agents," I went, "Yeah," and she went, "Who?"
Oh no!
At my back, I just froze for a sec, or you did. I literally named the only agent's name that I'd ever heard, which was the director's agent. Like, yeah, I've met Claire King, and just prayed that they didn't know each other.
Oh my God.
And then I went away and was just like fretting, and then I decided to do like a kind of bluff, and I sent her an email the next day and said, look, I've decided, I just loved our meeting, and I've decided you're the person I really want to represent me. She's the only person I know. And luckily she took me on. And then, you know, like from there, I just, the door was open to start auditioning for things. And, you know, I got like, you know, my first jobs were really like, there was one in a sitcom where I just played a guy dressed up as a chicken outside a fast food shop. They were all like one-liner bit parts. And it was just like kind of making my way. And in the meantime, I was like jotting down ideas for things to try and write. And then really two things happened. One is I was in a film with James Corden, and we hit it off, and that sort of led to us making The Wrong Mans together. And the other one was I was getting cast in Horrible Histories, which at the time was like, in fact, I think I even said to my agent, I don't want to audition for it, because I was like,
God,
TV, you know, it was one of those like emails, this has come in, do you want to go for it? It's CBBC, you know, and a few scripts attached. And I didn't read the scripts. I just called her and said, look, I don't think kids TV is where I want to be, really.
Yeah,
and she said, don't rule it out. Like, have a look at the have a look at the script, and you know, no one will notice. Like if you're worried about how it's going to look that you're on kids' TV,
Yeah.
you're going to know. So like, it's not going to stop you doing other stuff. And then I read the script, and I was like, these are really like truly funny. And I went and did the audition with the absolute breeziness of someone who doesn't really want the job.
Right.
And so I got it. I don't if I want the job, I don't get it. If I don't want it, I will get it.
Oh, fuck's sake.
And then when I got offered it, they told me who else was being lined up, and they were all people I'd seen in Edinburgh and loved. And I was like, oh fuck! Like if I knew that Simon Farnaby and Alice Lowe and Katie Wicks, all these kind of people were going to be involved, I'd have probably fucked up the audition, because I'd have been like, yes, I really want this.
That's amazing. How extraordinary. And then
just,
because I mean, how did it? Because you guys, I mean, I remember reading that you guys started writing the sketches for it as well.
Yeah. So, well, yeah. There's a sort of tangled history in there. Like Larry was on the writing team before any of us got cast, and in the first series, he was just I think was just a kind of an easy addition for them to the cast to do, like, and he talks about this openly, that he basically was there to walk on and say the king. And because he was really good, he started getting bigger sort of things to do. And then on the flip side, a couple of us, me and Ben, would just enjoyed doing it and asked if we could get involved in the writing. So we wrote a bit on series 2, but not much. But we all just loved working together, so we ended up just finding ways to come up with other things for us to do together. Yeah.
So, I mean, was it a shock when you found out how successful? I'm sure you're asked this all the fucking time, but that the show had become, for like a children's show, that adults were watching it, and it was yeah. I mean, it is one of the best sketch shows that there has ever been.
That's and it's so nice today. It just, I mean, we loved it. Like, so I'm sure you feel this with this country, like, you know, all you can control is if you're proud of the thing that you're making.
Yeah.
And you then it goes out in the world, and you just kind of hope. But so it's not, I think it would be false modesty to say, oh, I was completely surprised, because I thought it was great. So like, why wasn't other people? But yeah, the level of it, the fact that it kind of transcended kids TV. There were two kind of moments where it was like a wild realization. One was that we won Best Sketch Show at the British Comedy Awards, and I think they stopped by the time you were making this company.
Yeah.
That's so good for you.
I heard it's really nasty.
Horrible. They're so horrible. No one is happy for each other. It's horrible.
I always imagined it like a room of class clowns. It's like when somebody, and they all think that they're fucking funnier than everyone else, and nobody has any respect for each other. Was it like, so tell me, give me a glimpse of what that night was, because I've always wanted to know.
But also, like, they used to set it up to be like that. I always thought, like, so it was like sponsored by Foster's. No offense to Foster's, but you're already saying this is just boozy and shit. And it would be like, you didn't get dinner, you got like crisps.
Oh my God.
There was just a sense of like, and this kind of sounds quite haughty, but comedy's really fucking hard. and it's as crafted as anything else. And I always thought, like, it's a great thing because it gets overlooked. Comedies never win the Oscars. Comedies never win the BAFTA Best Film. Like, it's the category that disqualifies you from all general award ceremonies. So to have an awards that is just for comedy is like a way of celebrating that it is an art form. But then they do it in such a way that they go, "This is a load of shit, isn't it?" And it would just like, they would just get. They would just encourage it to be boozy, and the people that would present the awards were like, it wasn't like luminaries of comedy. It was just like people from reality shows.
Oh my
I
God.
hated it. I just hated it. Anyway.
You didn't go the year that Kevin Bishop went completely
No,
mental.
that was like a year. That was like the year before. Yeah, he threw something at the in-between guys. And, I mean, the backstory to that is that they were friends, and that it looked on
Oh,
TV like he was really incredulous that they'd won, but it was just banter between them, really.
sake. Fucking
We,
hell.
we won Best Sketch Show, and everyone stood up and applauded, and we were just like, "What the fuck?" And I mean, partly that was like, wow, our show's bigger than we realised. And partly probably it's just that people didn't see us as competition because they could be happy for us in a
Oh,
way that they
fucking
couldn't be
hell.
happy for the others. And then the other moment was we did a prom. We did this horrible histories prom, and it meant that we came face to face with the audience. And when we arrived in our cars on the morning of the prom, we got mobbed out of the cars, and they had to they had to help us into the building. And it was like, we're not a band.
The Beatles.
We've been on telly. You don't see people laughing at your show on telly unless you're on Gogglebox. Like, you just don't know. So you have this sense that you've read some good reviews and seen some people tweeting and saying this is great, but it's so different when it's like, oh shit, there's like 1,000 people and they're all screaming.
That is insane. It's insane. And it was just, it's such fate that you were all brought together to do this.
And just luck.
Well, yeah, that's fate, I suppose.
I feel like is that like an optimism pessimism thing? I feel like,
That's so true. That's so true. I'm obviously an optimistic and believe in ghosts. Yeah. You're a scientific kind of guy, I take it.
I'm just like, it's all random luck, and you just have to wake up every morning and go, oh great, I didn't have a heart attack in the night. Here's another.
But I mean, the thing about making it into the industry, I think, is personally, motivation is like 80-90% of it.
Yeah.
You have to believe in yourself, and you have to keep on going even though you have those knockbacks. Like, you think if you taken that advice from that first teacher, where, you know, and just not even touched it. And what really moves me actually is just how little encouragement you needed. You just needed that one woman to say how great you were, and that's all you needed. And I think that shows as well how sensitive this industry is, and we're all just these terrified, very fragile kind of China dolls, and we don't want to put ourselves out there because I suppose you have to completely bare your soul to do this kind of stuff.
That cliche that people say you've got to have a thick skin to be an actor, and the truth is, like, yeah, it would be nice to have a thick skin to weather the industry, but you have to have a thin skin to be a good actor. So it's not possible, you know. You can't be a good actor if you haven't got some little vulnerable thing in you that's like, love me, you know,
Yeah. Yes.
what you're all doing.
Oh
And, you
God.
know, I think it's an important thing to admit to yourself, because that vulnerable place is the thing that makes you watchable.
Mm.
No
Yeah.
one wants to watch someone who's bulletproof confident. It's fucking
No.
horrible.
So I'm gonna start with some questions. I hadn't realised how long we've been talking. We've got 20
Anyway,
minutes left.
I'll tell you what I've
I'm
been.
going to ask you. This really interested me. This question by Deborah Armitage says, "What differences do you apply when writing for children or writing for adults?"
Um, surprisingly few is the
Really?
answer. Yeah, we just write what we think is funny. And the way I like to talk about it, that I've said this a few times in interviews, is that what I quite like about writing for a family or pre-watershed audience is that it's like having the teacher in the classroom. It makes it cheek. It makes stuff feel cheeky and like against the rules. Whereas if the teacher's out of the room and anything goes, it's like it doesn't make you as giggly.
Yes, that's so true.
And so we like our thing, and like if you watch Ghosts or Yonderland or any of the stuff that we've done, we're constantly trying to push as hard as we can against the barriers of what's acceptable for that audience. And there's just a lot of cheek in them. So, for example, in Ghosts, we have a politician who has no has only has the top half of his clothes on, and it's obvious how that guy died, and it's not explicit, and there's scenes like where he'll reach up to get something and you'll just see one of the others go, than seeing it.
Yeah. And
So
I find it really fascinating quite how mature kids are when it comes to humour and stuff like I mean, when Charlie and I were kids, we would watch stuff like The Royal Family and The Office, and you think of stuff like The Simpsons, like we grew up with that and how funny that was.
yeah,
And I suppose I'm asking you to do. I mean, is it a case of you don't talk down to kids?
100%. It's just you can't. It'd be the same as going like, I'm going to write a show for people from Manchester and having an opinion on what people from Manchester think is funny, as if
Mm,
it's different. It's like you can only think something is funny yourself or not, you know, like that's the only criteria when you're writing comedy. And then beyond that, it's all the same stuff about whether the character's interesting, whether the story's moving on, and, all of that. But
yeah.
in terms of, yeah, you oh, yeah, never like, I would never think to sort of say, I don't find this funny, but a kid would love it.
Yes.
It's just going to be rubbish. Pixar's the reason those films are great is because they've just made great films that kids can watch. Like, there's no sense of like, well, this isn't for adults.
No, oh my God, so true. Fucking hell. I'm sure you sit through and as many Pixar films as I do. And you can watch them again and again and again because
Yeah,
they're really fucking well written. Um,
some of them are genuine masterpieces. Like,
have you seen Onwards yet?
yeah, we rented it the other day. We
Oh,
did we made little cinema tickets at home.
oh my God. I was
I
personally blown away by it.
I had to buy a packet of crisps from a multi-pack that I had bought because my son wanted to sell snacks.
Oh God.
He was
All
like,
right, I'm gonna carry on with these questions. I'm gonna try and pack as many as I can in. Um, this is from the Enchanted Door, who asks, "Is it possible for a completely untrained writer to write a good script?"
yeah, 100%. Definitely. I think a lot of people, without realizing it, just have the kind of the basic ideas of and rules of screenwriting in their head from watching stuff. And I think, how do I put this? I think the key thing is to be able, I don't know, to be able to listen to the idea, if that doesn't sound too wanky, to be um, to be able to keep checking in with the thing that you're making and seeing if it's turning out where it wants to be. I think like you can end up, if you push too hard, you can overcomplicate ideas, but you might kind of go in that direction and it's like you're pushing it uphill.
Yeah.
And then if you take a moment, you stop and you go in this direction, you find that it just bolts along, and it,
Yes.
it it knows where it wants to go. That's so unhelpful.
No, I know, know exactly what you mean, and I also find that a lot of people that writers that start out writing, try and copy a style that's already
Right.
out there of other work, and I always think that because they think, oh well, that person has got experience, so I'll use their work as a kind of
Right.
template. So I know they do dramas about a missing child, and I'll do something about that,
Yeah, yeah.
but
I think it's quite, it's a minefield because, like, one thing I would say is I think a lot of new or young writers get fixated on the idea that's the key, is having a brilliant original idea. And I think that's a bit of a fallacy, because you don't need an original idea. Like, I think it's more important that your voice is something different and original. And if you're kind of, if you find a way to be honest with the way you write, then it can't not be original, because it's you and no one else is you. So if imitating someone helps you get started, then it's maybe not a bad thing. Like, I think the first things that I did were all probably pretty, like, strongly copying stuff I'd loved. And I think over time, they're like it's like stabilizers on a bike or something. Like,
yeah,
over
no,
time,
that's
you go,
lovely.
actually, I'm riding this now, and I don't need that. I don't need. I can stop pretending that I'm writing Monty Python or whatever, and just like admit that this is me, and it's not quite what I thought it would be. It turns out, but it's me. So, you know, and I think just
I think
experience of that. I never did a creative writing course. I've never done a lesson or studied writing in any way. I only started writing in order to have a show, because I wanted to be an actor. And then, I loved it.
yeah,
And also it meant I could write stuff for myself that I liked, because
Pete.
most other stuff is shit. Well, like,
God.
it's so rare you get sent a good script. You must feel this too.
Oh my God, all the time. But I'm always part for the same kind of characters where I'm like the angry waitress or I
Yeah,
mean, it's just, and you think I've seen this so many times and it's completely two-dimensional. It's just fucking
yeah,
lazy, and you just think, and that's why I get annoyed when, like you say, people think it's all about the idea and about the premise, whereas I think the most important thing you do is you start with your characters. Like, don't
yeah,
think, oh, this would be great set in a chip shop. Do your
yeah,
characters first and then figure out where they are.
yeah, yeah,
Right, I'm going
absolutely.
to move on to oh God, sorry, get me questions. Um, if you, okay, so Lou Burgess has asked, I'm just wondering if you have an idea and a basic outline and you want to start taking it further, is it wise to keep it quiet? Is it common for ideas to be stolen? And is there any way you can protect yourself from this?
So I think, I mean, like I literally just spoke about how the idea in a way is not the important thing. That's not to say, you know, that you do hear about ideas being nicked. There's also a very real sense that, like, I because a completely original idea is a bit of a false notion that similar things will come along at the same time. Like right now, the In-Betweeners guys have just released a football sitcom, and there's also one that I think Apple TV have just made,
Right.
like 2 football sitcoms. But like, I think it'd be pretty hard to go, I had the idea of doing a football sitcom because it's like, well, it's a sitcom with footballers, so like you can't patent that.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of more important to get out there and talk to people, especially if it's going to help you develop an idea, than to be worried about, you know, is it going to be stolen? Because, you know, if someone stole the idea but couldn't write it well, it's not going to go anywhere anyway. Like the important thing is how you execute an idea, not the idea itself, I think.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And I think it's also, like you said, I mean, you think of stuff like when Bug's Life came out at the same time as Ants and how completely different those two films were, or Megamind and Despicable Me coming out at the same time. Like, there's so many different ways to interpret the same idea. And I think that's what we're worried about with this country being a mockumentary. And we thought, well, The Office has done it. Charlie looks like fucking Gareth from The Office, has the same haircut. Like, it's just going to look like we're plagiarizing the show. It's exactly what we did.
But the thing is, like, because I saw your taster that you'd made, it wasn't the idea that the BBC bought. It was you and Charlie. They didn't, like, you don't watch a taster and go, oh my God, a mockumentary's about 2 people in a village in the country. I fucking need that idea. You watch it and go, those 2 are so funny, and they've made this thing that's perfect for them. That's what they bought. They didn't buy the idea, right?
Right. Well, that's lovely that you say that.
But for sure, like, it's not, you know, I don't think it's not like anyone reads a synopsis for something and goes, oh my God. I just don't think whatever.
Get me that guy on the phone.
Yeah,
totally.
You don't, like, when you watch a film, you're not loving an idea for 2 hours. You're loving characters and dialogue.
Yes.
You know, the idea is literally just an excuse with which, like, it's the plate that you deliver the meal on. It's not the meal.
Yeah. Wow, he's a writer, ladies and gentlemen. Right, I'm going to ask you next question. This is from, we've had a lot of the same questions, written in different ways. Do you have to go to a specific acting school, or can you go to a university to get into the industry? I mean, I suppose you've kind of already answered this, but
you spoke to Trev about, you know, he studied law and then just got into it because he was doing plays in the drama society. Like, I was paranoid when I first got an agent that because I hadn't trained as an actor, apart from like clown school in Paris, that I remember all my first auditions sort of like watching their eyes flick down to the CV on the table and thinking, I'm just like, what am I doing here? They're just going to see my background. And, you know, I thought if you hadn't been to RADA, then, but it turns out that what I found is that actually they, producers, directors, love to see people whose story is not that, you know.
Yeah.
And whilst it can be great to have gone to those places if it works for you, it's also great if you're a 40-something person who had a completely different life story and is now doing the acting thing. You know, it really doesn't matter what your background is. It's like, you know, the routes into the industry, it's really, I know people kind of would love to have simple answers about how to get in, and I'd love to be able to give them.
Mm.
But there's so many ways that people get into it, and it really doesn't matter which way you took. And there's people who haven't trained in any way, shape, or form, and there's films that get cast by, you know, Shane Meadows, and you know, there's directors who actively, Andrea Arnold, who look for people who haven't done any acting before. And I love that. And I love when you see like kids do a brilliant performance in a film or something, because it absolutely gives the lie to all of the bullshit that many of us persuade ourselves about the craft.
Yes, that, yes, yes.
If an 8-year-old can, you know, like, watch, everyone watching this, when you finish, YouTube the Elliot ET audition. Have you seen it?
No, I'm going to write that down.
It's just, it's the kid getting the job for ET, and he's doing like an improv, and they're saying, so the setup is, you know, they're taking the alien away, and you don't want him to go, and this kid is just in the fantasy. He's just playing make-believe so beautifully. And at the end of it, Spielberg's like, kid, you got the job.
Oh
And
my
it's,
God.
you know, that's a kid. Like, really, we can tell ourselves so much about what makes good acting, but ultimately it's just, are you really, really in the moment playing?
My God, that is so lovely to hear you say that.
When you
Because I believe that. I think you either have it or you don't, and I think there are ways to make it better. But if you don't have it, then I don't think there's any way to teach somebody how to get it.
Yeah. I
And
think there's lots, like, yeah, that, like, find what's helpful for you. Is, you know, there's stuff that there's teachers I've experienced who are really helpful, others who completely aren't. There's books I've read that are really helpful and books I've read that aren't. It's like, whatever feeds your inspiration and fantasy, whatever makes you go, oh, I love it, you know, and the stuff that doesn't, or that makes you feel more anxious, just forget it.
so, as we've got to round up now, what would be your biggest piece of advice that you give to anybody that's wanting to get into the industry?
I would say I might try and do a few really quick.
Yes.
Write letters, like Trev said, write letters. It's so easy to just write to people. And it was so great to see that Trev literally got jobs by doing that. And I got to go and spend that time with that director who turned out to be the first person to cast me in anything, and then the person who directed my Edinburgh shows. And, you know, that just came from writing a letter and saying, please, can I come and watch? So write letters for sure. If you're a writer and you want to write, I think find people whose opinions you trust and make peace with criticism. Like, I think the hardest thing when you start with writing is that we're all inherently lazy. And when you get what you want, the voices you want to hear are the ones that go, it's perfect, you don't need to touch it. If you really want to be the best, make the best thing you can make, then the most useful thing in the world is someone whose opinions you trust saying, you could improve it here, here, and here, and this is my opinion on how.
Yes.
And you might disagree, but you might learn, you might kind of go, well, you're wrong about how to fix it, but if I'm honest, you're right that there's a problem there, and I'm going to fix it this way instead.
And that is so important, being able to take on notes from people that you trust, but also figuring out who those people are who are giving you notes that you need to completely fucking ignore, because there are a lot of telly producers who think that they're writers and they're not.
First version of This Country where you got like all the wrong notes, right, and it went all in the wrong direction. But you know, the lesson from that process was, like, I'm sure when you made it the next time round, you knew exactly what you wanted. And it probably wouldn't, you probably wouldn't have been as sure, I'm guessing, but maybe not as strident and confident about this is how it should be done, because we did that way and it's shit. But definitely, like, find people who you trust and are like actively look for criticism. That would be one piece of advice. Another thing I would say is, I think, like, we all watch stuff that we love and find inspiration in it, but it can also make you feel like, what's the fucking point? And if you're just watching stuff that you think is masterful, then every time you open that document, you're just going to go, oh, I'm not, like, you know, I'm not Amanda Iannucci, so why am I bothering? So this piece of advice is, watch crap. Just find some time to watch stuff that you think is shit, because it will just make you feel like you deserve that place that you were looking for in the industry. It's so important. I think it just puts you back in touch with that feeling of, like, well, come on, if that can get commission, but if you're only watching the stuff that you think is amazing, I think it can like wake up a sort of anxiety in you, and just it can give you that sort of feeling of like, let's just stop.
But I'd never thought of it before, but absolutely, of course you should watch it. That's what inspires you and motivates you to give it a fucking shot.
100%. So I can't think of anything else really. But just the one last thing I would say is, whatever the thing is that you're working on, finish it, because that is 99% of people who say they're going to write something don't finish it. So you've already put yourself in the top god tier of people who want to be writers just by finishing something. And I'm saying that to myself as well.
Oh my God. Wow, I've learned more from this than I have in the last fucking 7 years.
No.
Oh my God, it's amazing. You're amazing. And it's true. It's fucking true. Thank you so much.
To get to talk to you, Daisy, because I've been asking to meet with you for like 2 years.
We will. Let's take the kids out somewhere. Or no, let's leave the kids on with our partners and go out for a drink or something. Fucking hell, I need a drink. We'll
Are
do
you
that.
not drinking a lot?
No,
Are
no,
you?
because I'm a preggers, so I can't.
Of course you are.
I know. Fuck. It's
So much.
killing. It's actually killing me. But I mean, thank you so much. Amazing, absolutely amazing. And I'm going to ask you while you're live, would you come back and do another sesh? So you
Yeah, of
can't.
course.
Oh, that would be amazing.
It's
Fabulous.
so great that you're doing this. I think it's really fantastic, and I think I'm sure people are getting a huge amount out of it. I think it can feel like such a closed shop and like such another world, and it is an industry that sort of has a problem with access and stuff, but it does also have a lot of desire to find new voices, I think.
Yeah, and
Mm.
there's no way of bridging that gap between broadcasters and production companies that are desperate for new talent,
Mm.
but and new talent trying to get with production companies and broadcasters. It's just, it seems like it's mental, and it seems like that. I mean, the only thing I can think of is like BBC Writers' Room, but there has
Yeah,
to be some way of bridging the gap.
yeah. I That's the only scheme I kind of know about in terms of script writing. I know that there is one, Andy Riley, who writes a lot of great stuff and like writes on Veep and things like that, is doing a kind of mentoring scheme which he's done for several years, which is specifically aimed at BAME writers who want to, new BAME writers who want to kind of have mentorship. So if anyone watching this would fit, then look up Andy Riley.
Oh, that's
Um,
fucking brilliant.
but yeah, there's not enough. There's not enough schemes like BBC Writers' Room. There should be. There should be more.
No, definitely.
There are more that I don't know about. But
Well, I was talking to Tom Davis and maybe we'll try, like I said, to get a platform up, and just try and get as many people involved in it to encourage people and to try and, yes, get people into the industry somehow. But thank you so much. You've
thank
just,
you.
and we'll definitely do that drink once this baby's out. But I mean, if you're free in a couple of weeks, do another session. That would be amazing.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Cool.
Perfect. All right then, my love. It's been a pleasure. Thank you all for watching. And yeah, see you next week.